Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to achieve this heat-proof, sweat-proof, full coverage makeup that's built to last, even through the hottest summer days. Now, whether you're headed to graduation, a wedding, a birthday, or you're just headed outside for the day, this routine will definitely have you covered from start to finish. So no more yapping, let's get right into the video. Okay, so like always, before we apply any sort of makeup, we want to make sure that we do our skincare. I have always said and will always say that skincare is probably one of the most important steps to having a really nice, flawless base and also helping your makeup last throughout the day. Because I feel like if your skin is not prepped, then your makeup is not going to look as good. It's not going to last as long. I just feel like skincare is the base before the base. So to start off, I'm using the Glow Recipe Watermelon Glow PHA and BHA Port Tight Toner. This toner I usually use day and night because it really helps make my pores look less visible. And because of that, I enjoy putting it on before makeup and just using it in like my everyday and every night routine. Now the next step after toner is going to be serums, and I'm going to be using 2 serums today because since this is going to be a full coverage, like heavier makeup for the summertime, I do want my skin to be really moisturized. So I'm using the Thirst Burst drops from e.l.f. This is like a must-have in my skincare routine before makeup. And then I'm also using the hyaluronic acid serum from Good Molecules. Again, I'm just using both of these for that extra hydration. So I'm going in first with the hyaluronic acid from Good Molecules. Also, as always, I'm bringing these products down my neck to ensure that my neck also has some skincare. I feel like a lot of the time the neck is neglected. And surprisingly, I think your neck is the part of your skin that actually ages faster rather than your face, if that makes sense. These Thirst Burst drops just ensure that I have a little bit of like extra radiance underneath my makeup. And again, also that hydration it gives. You don't have to use 2 serums. You could get away with just using the Thirst Burst drops or the Good Molecules hyaluronic acid serum. But I just love using both of them underneath my makeup. For eye cream, I'm going to be using the Herbivore Supernova Vitamin C and Caffeine Eye Cream. This is probably one of my, or just is my favorite eye cream to use underneath my makeup and even in my nighttime skincare routine. This one has helped my under eyes with so much that I actually saw a difference. I got this right after I gave birth, and or I would say like a month or 2 after I gave birth, and my eye bags were horrible from being so sleep deprived. And this is actually one of the eye creams that really transformed my under eye. And then when I started putting makeup over it, my makeup looks so good, and I felt like my under eyes were just very hydrated throughout the day, which is so important to me. It's also really lightweight. It doesn't feel like a heavy eye cream, so that's probably one of the other things that I really enjoy about this eye cream. My Bloom cream is getting messed up, but this is what I'm using for moisturizer. This one's a very lightweight moisturizer, and I just love the way it sits underneath makeup. I switch between this one and my Clinique Moisture Surge moisturizer. That's another one of my favorite moisturizers for underneath makeup. And my skin just feels so nice already. And I love this glow. It's gonna definitely keep me moisturized underneath my makeup. Now, I feel like a lot of people forget about this step, but you need to use an SPF underneath your makeup. So for today's SPF, I'm gonna be using the Vacation Classic Whip SPF 30. Besides the e.l.f. one, the Sun Glow one or something like that, this is my next favorite sunscreen. It doesn't leave a white cast. It doesn't, again, feel too heavy, too greasy. One thing I will say, you want to make sure you avoid your eye area because it burns if it gets in your eye. But I think that's with most sunscreens. So I just start off with about that much. I feel like that's a good amount to use all over my face and my neck. Definitely reminds me of a like a hair mousse that when you squeeze it out, it just expands. So That's why I start off with such a little bit. I used to put a lot more, and I would be sitting here for like 5 minutes really blending out the sunscreen. This does have a fragrance, so if you're not a fan of fragrances in your skincare, then I would avoid this, but it smells so good. Again, this product just leaves a super nice glow on the skin. I don't know if the camera's really picking it up that well, but in my mirror and in person, it just looks so healthy. It doesn't look greasy, it looks glowy, so that's a plus. Another important step is to let your skincare sit before applying any makeup, primer, things like that. So I'm gonna let this sit for about 10 minutes and then we'll be back to apply the makeup. Okay, now that our skincare has sat for a little bit, we're gonna go ahead and start off with primer. So for primer, I wanna use something that is gonna help keep my skin hydrated, but I also wanna use another primer to make sure that the areas that get oily on my skin are nice and matte and are gonna not get as oily throughout the day. So I'm using 2 primers, and those primers are going to be the NYX Plump Right Back Up Plumping Serum and Primer. I feel like I don't hear a lot of people talk about this, and this is definitely like an underrated primer because I love this one. And then for my oilier areas and places that I want to ensure that the makeup is really not going to crease, I'm going to be using the Power Grip Matte Primer from e.l.f. This one is going to help the makeup grip on, but it's also going to ensure, like I said, that the places that get really oily on my skin don't get as oily and the makeup won't slide off throughout the day. So I'm just applying the NYX primer on the barrier of my face, pretty much like the outer portions of my face, if that makes sense, because this area is not really where my face gets oily. My oily areas are basically right here, a little bit on my chin, and then mainly my forehead. The NYX primer also gets tacky, so it's going to help the makeup stick on throughout the day as well. Then we're just going to use the Power Grip Matte one on the oilier areas of my face, like I said. It's also a good idea to apply the matte primer on any smile lines or any like areas that crease a lot. So I do a lot on the side of my nose, and then of course, like I said, my smile lines. And then again, just before you apply your foundation, you want to let these primers sink into the skin and kind of sit there for a little bit so that they don't mix in immediately with the foundations. For foundation, it was hard for me to choose which foundation I wanted to use today because this has been my current fave foundation, the Haus Labs Triclone Skin Tech foundation. This just looks like your skin. It sits on your skin so nicely. It doesn't feel heavy. There's so many positive things about it, but a close second is the Born This Way foundation. I just feel like this is like a summer foundation because it just sits on the skin so well and it doesn't move. It does feel a little heavier than the Haus Labs one, but I think today I'm just gonna go in with the Born This Way foundation. I have worn this foundation in the summer before and it stood on my skin all day. It has not moved and it looks so nice. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna put it on a brush and place it on my skin first. Before we blend out the foundation, I'm just gonna use a little bit of the MAC Fix Plus because I feel like this helps my makeup last throughout the day. And that's really the main goal about this entire makeup look. So if I keep repeating that, that's why. And as always, I always use a brush to apply my foundation and blend out my foundation because I feel like that keeps majority of the foundation on the skin versus a beauty blender that soaks up more of the foundation. Just for reference, I am using shade Vanilla in the Born This Way foundation. Also, try to avoid as much of your eye area as you can just to avoid any cakiness. So you don't want to apply too much foundation underneath your eye and then go over it with concealer and then go over it with powder later. That's gonna definitely increase the amount of cakiness or creasing that goes on with your makeup later if you have too much underneath your eye. But do you guys see what I mean about this foundation? It just like transforms my skin, but it still looks like skin. And on top of that, with all the products mixed together, you can kind of still see like I have a nice natural glow under it. For concealer, I'm actually going in with two. The first one is going to be, of course, the Born This Way multi-use sculpting concealer. And then the second one I'm going in with is the Stay Naked Quickie concealer from Urban Decay. I think for the Quickie concealer, there's a lot of mixed reviews. I personally really love it, but it also could be that I'm not using it as much as other people are using it underneath their eye. I simply just use it for more so of the inner corner, and then I use my Born This Way concealer for the rest of the concealer all over my face. I'm gonna highlight a little bit on my chin, a little bit on my forehead, just because my forehead is a little bit more exposed with my bangs now. And then before I blend out my concealer, I am gonna spray the Fix Plus again. And I'm actually gonna let that sit there for about like 2-3 minutes just to let the concealer really get almost dried, so that way when I blend it out, it's at its maximum coverage. So while that's doing that, I'm just gonna fill in my eyebrows really quick and then we'll be back. Okay, I did my eyebrows super quickly. So now we're gonna blend out the concealer because it's been sitting there for a minute or so. And I'm just gonna use a brush to blend that out. It's just the Hourglass concealer brush. I personally love using concealer brushes to blend out my concealer because just like the foundation, I feel like it leaves majority of the product underneath my eye. We're gonna move on to cream bronzer and cream blush next. So for bronzer, I'm gonna be using the Patrick Ta for Face in She's Bronzed. So we're gonna go in with the cream portion first, and then we'll go in with the powder portion later. There's really no trick to applying the bronzer. You're just gonna apply the bronzer where you normally would. I like doing it right underneath and slightly on top of my cheekbone, and then I'll apply some underneath my lip, because applying underneath the lip gives your lip a little bit more of a fuller look, which I enjoy. Also, this bronzer I do enjoy using. It's another product that just looks like your skin, which is something that I enjoy when doing full coverage makeup, because although I want it to be that full coverage kind of glam makeup, I don't want my skin to look like super cakey. I want it to look like I'm wearing makeup, but I don't want it to look like I'm wearing makeup, if you like know what I mean. For the bronzer on my nose, I'm gonna do it pretty messy today. I know in my last video where I did a full face of e.l.f. makeup, I did it nice and precise, but I feel like when it comes to summer makeup and like a summer full glam makeup, to get that kind of sunburnt look, I think doing the bronzer a little messier makes the makeup look more summery. And another reason I also like using a concealer brush for my concealer is because if there's too much of a harsh line, which there isn't too much of a harsh line today, I can just go back in and really blend it and melt it back together. So I feel like that's a plus to using a concealer brush. Okay, moving on to blush. I have two blushes that I'm going to be using, and I'll explain to you why. The first one I'm going to go in with is the Cheek Freak from About Face, and this one's in the shade Champagne Room. And then the second blush that I'm going to be going in with is the NARS Afterglow Liquid Blush in Orgasm. Both of these I feel have a really nice corally pinky shade to them. This one specifically gives your skin a nice, beautiful glow that looks so natural. It looks like a glow from within. And then this one just gives you a lot more of that color, and it looks like a nice flush, this shade specifically. I'm going to go in with the About Face one. And again, this is where we're going to get most of our color from. It's going to be from the About Face blush. And I'm kind of keeping it more focused on the top of my cheek rather than underneath or anything like that, because I feel like if you get a sunburn, it's really mainly across the top here. It's never underneath. So that's kind of what I'm trying to imitate with the placement of this blush. Then we'll go over the top with the NARS blush. And this is where we're gonna get our nice dewy finish. As you can see, it's pretty much like a similar color to the About Face. Probably could have done less, but I'm a blush lover, so we're going with the flow for this one. Also, with the NARS blush, I'm just gonna apply a little bit near my forehead. We're gonna go and spray our face with MAC Fix Plus again. First powder I'm gonna go in with is the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder, and for this one we're gonna just place it underneath our eyes. We're not gonna bake, we're gonna press it into our skin. I pick up the powder with my little powder puff. I tap off literally all the excess that I can, and then we're going to set and press it into our under eye. A good trick you can do before setting your under eye to help with any creasing is to pat it out with your concealer brush and then go immediately in and set your under eye. I'm really keeping this focus strictly underneath my eye. I don't want to get too much powder on the high points of my cheek because I don't want to take away that natural looking glow that we've got going on. I find that whenever I go right in and I bake without pressing the powder into my under eye, I actually find that my under eye looks a lot more cakey than if I was to do it this way. Then with whatever excess, I'm gonna go in any spots that normally crease, so around my nose, a little bit of my smile line, so I'll go around my entire mouth, right between the brows and the forehead. Okay, and then I'm gonna spray my face again and let it completely dry, and then I'll show you what I use to actually bake. For baking, we're gonna be using the One Size Ultimate Setting Powder, and we're gonna be doing this in the shade Ultra Pink. This is gonna give us our bright under eye back a little bit, but it's also gonna blend in this pinkish corally blush that we've got going on here, and we're just gonna place this right underneath our eye. And I'm just gonna do it on the inner corner here. While that is baking, we're gonna go back in with the Patrick Ta contour thingy, the She's Bronze shade, and I'm gonna go in with the powder shade, and we're gonna go ahead and bronze up the cheekbone area again. Gonna go ahead and wipe off this bake. This is just a loose little fluffy brush. For blush, I only feel that it is right to go in with the NARS Orgasm? The NARS Orgasm blush, just in the powder form. It also has those nice reflective bits in it, so that's gonna help us keep our glow going. And then the last thing that I'm going to go in with is the Charlotte Tilbury Beauty Light one, and this one is going to be in the shade Spotlight. I take very little of it on my ring finger like this, and I just hit the high points on my face. Underneath my eyebrows. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw on a eyeshadow look real quick and a lip, and then we'll be right back to see the final look. Okay guys, the very last step I have for you is the final setting spray that we're gonna be using, and this is the One Size Until Dawn Mattifying Waterproof Setting Spray. Now, while all these tips will help your makeup last throughout the summer heat and things like that. I feel like this is just the cherry that tops the cake, because this like stuff is amazing. I don't know what's in it. I haven't really done my research. I just bought it because I saw everybody raving about it. But this legitimately keeps your makeup on like throughout the entire day. And it doesn't feel like anything. And that's what I love about every single product that I've used today, is that it doesn't feel like I have makeup on my face, but I know I have a full face of makeup on. Ugh, amazing. This is the final look, you guys. I don't know about you, but I think my skin looks pretty full coverage without looking cakey, and that was the goal of today's makeup. Of course, to make it last in this summer heat and throughout the day, it's going to be heat proof, sweat proof, everything like that, but the overall finished look looks nice and it doesn't feel like anything. I absolutely love that we still have a little bit of like a natural kind of under the skin glow, but it's still gonna be something that's gonna last throughout the day. If you have an event coming up or anything along those lines, or you just want to wear a full face of makeup in this summer heat, I would definitely try out this tutorial. Oh, hey girly pop. I would definitely try out this tutorial because it is gonna be something that's definitely gonna last you throughout the day. But other than that, this is all I have for you guys. If you want to see more from me when I'm not posting on here, check out my socials. That is Instagram and TikTok. It will be linked in the description box below. If you want to see more videos from me on here, then be sure you subscribe and also turn on the notification bell so you get notified when I post a video. I'd also greatly appreciate a like and possibly a comment on this video. Maybe you can tell me something that you liked about this video, maybe something you want to see. I was thinking about possibly recording a lightweight makeup instead of a full coverage makeup, so that anybody who doesn't wear a full face of makeup can also have an option of seeing a video that talks about doing lighter weight makeup that'll also last throughout the summer heat. But other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!